wait for the microphone, just give us an answer so that we can move on.
Huh?
So, Seifu, I'll need you to lend your ear as well to confirm.
All right. Nice.
Shout it out loud. Headbox.
Headbox. What is Headbox about?
Okay.
What a salesman.
Okay. Good stuff. Okay.
Batteries and chargers, yes.
Okay. Next, you said Headbox.
Data video.
Data
Data
video.
video.
BLACKMAGIC. Oh yeah,
yes.
like I
I've heard of
that.
that. Oh,
And
you
you
look
too.
at that.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Please come up here and pick up a...
She gets shares in the company.
Oh yeah, sure, why not?
And a pen.
Safe, can we give her the pen? Or do we ask another question? Okay, let's give you a notebook so everybody knows that the next question that's coming is for this incredible pen.
Thank you.
For this incredible pen. Round of applause as she goes back, please. Round of applause, thank you. Right, this is the last question, and anybody can answer, and what you win is this incredible pen that Chris demoed a little earlier.
It was an incredible demo. I was in tears. It was very emotional.
Broadly speaking, there are three, and Margaret is supposed to be here, or Velma, one of them at the back. But broadly speaking, there are three. Is Margaret?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay,
There she
here's
is.
Margaret.
Here she comes. Round of applause for
Round
that
of applause
lady
for Margaret.
coming down here.
Round of applause for Margaret. Come on, guys. There we go. Margaret,
Margaret Minnie.
you will confirm this, okay? Broadly speaking, this you're going to correct the answers, yeah? Broadly speaking, there are three different things that are being sold at Headbox behind. What are they? What three different things? I hand them. We go by hands. We go by hands. Tell me. Just there's a microphone now for you.
We have batteries, different kinds of batteries.
That's one.
Yes, then we have the dual charger.
Oh, that's you. One more. Okay.
Then we have the plates.
We have the.
Plates, plates.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is correct answer. Congratulations. Please come pick up your very, very, very intelligent pen. A round of applause as she comes in and collects that, please. Round of applause, round of applause.
Should begin with the Headbox.
Oh, the camera is here. The camera is on this side.
Thank you.
Most
All
welcome.
right.
Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Great. We will be giving out more a little later, but right now we need to reintroduce. Thank you very much, Seiko, for that. Don't disappear because you're giving out lots of things today.
All right.
There'll be more opportunities. There's still a pen. There's still the 30,000 shillings down payment that's going to be covered by Highway Audiovisual Solutions for the BLACKMAGIC Cinema Camera 4K. So look out for that. Right now, I'm going to invite Chris back here.
Who?
Chris Blythe.
Oh my goodness.
To come and give us a very, very 2 minutes.
Yeah, there's a little bit. Well, I'm going to do two things straight away.
Right.
The first part is going to be, I'm just going to take you through the interface. This is just because I've been asked by many times that people have been talking about this, but they don't use DaVinci. And it's all talk, so it's great to actually take you through the different parts, seeing where the clips are coming in and all that kind of stuff. So, if I have this, if I can go mirror, boom. Let me see if this is going to work. Could I get that monitor, my computer monitored onto the main screen now? Then what we're going to do, as soon as I've finished, is as soon as I've kind of taken you through the interface, I'm just going to roughly take you through the same thing, but show you with the panel here. And this camera is going to be on there too, but it's a little bit. Is that working? No?
Yes, it is.
Somebody take off one of your effects. You've got a downstream keyer effect on.
I like how it gets very technical. Don't remove the logo, no, take down the downstream key.
Oh, look at that.
Very nice.
Make the logo bigger.
Yes.
Every client has said to me ever. Apart from that one that told me to make it.
So as they do that, please give Chris, who's already here, technically begun his presentation, a round of applause until I sit down there, as loud as you can.
Okay, very
as
good.
loud as you can. As loud as you can.
Oh my goodness, it's earth-shattering.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, very good. Okay, thanks so much. This, as I said, this isn't going to be an in-depth thing. If anyone wants to see something in-depth later on, I will. I'm just going to kind of take you through the main parts of the menus. This is going to be very short, and we're just going to do the same thing over here to show you the difference between when you're doing things with one mouse, with one finger, compared to doing it there. And I'm hoping we can get the camera on there too, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So the first part of it is basically media. You're bringing your media. If I was going to take any of this away, which I don't want to do right now, but you just navigate to where your media is located, and in this particular situation, it's on my desktop. You'd see your thumbnails there. You can see them in various different ways. It can be implemented. You can see it like that. You can put it as a list. And at that point here, you can see that you've got certain things, shot, take, scene. You can organize these in various different ways, which is very similar to the other things. You can put up this panel here, which shows all the different parts. So you can start putting in your scene and all that kind of stuff, just doing it on a keyboard level and going through the imports. There's other ways of doing it. If you click on any, let's click on that one there, you'll see to the side here, you've got all your different, basically the technical descriptions of the actual file. But then the most important one is shot and scene. So they've got down here a kind of larger area, more friendly area for descriptions. Now the cool thing about this is very similar to most other ingestion systems. Fine, no problem. What's great about this is, with the paid version of DaVinci, the editor can be editing, and the assistant editor can be pulling in more footage for your project at the same time. Okay? That's one of the things that people, you know, Avid is actually really good at collaboration. It's good at that. They've got that nailed down. Okay? There's less Avid users here. But Final Cut was never, in its older versions, it was kind of collaborative. It was kind of okay for that. But you couldn't be opening at the same thing at the same time. You couldn't have the same project open. There was a thing called Final Cut Server, which allowed much more collaborative workflows, but that's sadly no longer with us. And so the idea of collaborating was like, oh, you're the color corrector, I'm the editor. Okay, I've edited, I've now given it to you. And that's called collaboration. That is not collaboration. What this framework allows you to do is you can have the simultaneous workflow at the same time. So I could be working, doing this. You can indeed have another person doing the ingestion part, and I don't think they collide with each other. But the most normal situation would be somebody's in editorial, and they start, and you could say, hey, I need the footage from Botswana. And they say, right, on it. They go into the ingestion panel. You carry on connecting and editing, okay? And then they add a folder and throw it in there, and all of a sudden on the left-hand side, you see that folder as Botswana. You go, oh, thanks. And you can even chat between. If you're not in the same building or the same, or it has to be in the same building. If you're not in the same floor or within earshot of each other, to shout and say, oh, thanks, boss, you can just type on it. There's a little chat window. And even they can say, imagine if you're editing away, tum-ty-tum-ty-tum, they can send you a message to say, it's done. Now, you could use Slack, you could use Instant Messenger, you could use Messenger, all of those things, but that's built into the program. And if you're using something that's full screen, hello. If you're using something that's full screen and you're working away, you don't want to be distracted. So, in that same way, can you put it back to the screen, please? Audio visual people? Oh, there you go. Oh, now you're getting fancy. That's what took the time. He's setting up a cool thing there. I'm going to do this. You're going to have to catch up with me. Okay. So that's the first part of it. That straight away it looks like a normal ingest situation. Nothing fancy at all. But the whole part is that it's enhanced by collaboration. For me, it's a major deal breaker. Okay, so the next part that you do, you just grab them and you drag them down here, and that becomes kind of like your master bin for your project. You can put them into the side there, like for instance, as I said before, you can say, I'm going to grab those two because I know that they're for multicam, and I can just throw them in there. Boom, and you can see them disappear. What I don't like about Final Cut is when you're throwing stuff into folders, your big list never gets smaller, and you kind of forget to organize because it's all there, and then you start putting things into folders and bins, but nothing disappears from the main menu. It's all still there. So then you need to set up a filter for anything that doesn't have a keyword association. And then you see, just make filters for filters. It's stupid. So this way you get rid of stuff, and it encourages you to organize stuff because now I know I can go into that bin there, and those two things will be there, right? It's organized in a very, very smart way. And then at the bottom here, you've got the smart bins. And again, same thing, you right-click and you add a smart bin. It's working live. So if I type in 23, oops, I go like this, and I type in into here, and I type in 23. As I'm typing, they disappear. See how fast it is. Boom. I know that clip is called 23. And you can say, there's the meta. You've got all these different. You want camera. So if you've been shooting a bunch on an array and you've been shooting a bunch on the BLACKMAGIC and Red or whatever, all of that data is usually embedded in its own file metadata, so you can identify where it's come from. So if you wanted to separate things out quickly by camera, you could, if you wanted to, go into here, okay, and then I believe there's a thing for camera. No, there's video codec, but you could filter it down that way, or you might have named it in a certain way. The great thing about doing it here is that if you want to do it here, you can immediately say, yeah, show me camera blah, show me camera BLACKMAGIC, anything with the name that you know that's associated with it. And then on top of that, you can just add other ones, and they can do, look at the, does anyone recognize this at Works Final Cut? It is exactly the same. I don't know how they're getting away with it, but it's basically exactly the same thing. So, so I find that very, very handy, and I find that you've got the best of both worlds. You've got real folders, but at the same time you've got smart folders too. It's a good compromise. What you can also do inside here, if you put it onto this little view here, look at any of these views, you can mark footage in and out. So I can be through something and go in.
For instance, confidence in how to present themselves.
Right, and you can mark it. Now this is a long piece, but you can do keyword associations with that part. You can favorite certain parts, and then those keywords are researchable later on. So if that lady's talking about cheese, as people do, or whatever, you can listen to that part and mark that part as being important. Or you can just put markers on. So the assistant editor can be still working on adding all these keywords whilst you're getting on with the editor. Cool, huh? Okay, as I'll say again though, the free version doesn't allow that. It's $300 for the full license. But if you happen to buy a camera, or one of the, I think they did it on some of the switchers as well, you get a free copy of DaVinci, and that's the full, no? Is that the? No switchers, that was the olden days. Okay, so it's the cameras?
It's the cine cameras.
The cine cameras, not the broadcast cameras. Okay. Wow, fair enough. Okay, so thank you for the clarification, our honourable Uhuru President. Okay, but then, so you're buying one of the cameras. What about the old pocket camera? I've got a deal for you guys. I've just thought of something really smart. I'm going off topic right now. Okay. Now the new camera is coming out at $1,300. The old camera was under 1,000, wasn't it? Yeah. 900. $995. Now that is, albeit an old camera. That camera can still shoot great stuff. Ridiculously good stuff still. It still looks good. I know a lot of people here that have that camera and it's a good camera. I know where there's one untouched one right over there. And if I buy that camera, I would get DaVinci, wouldn't I? And if I'm saying to Sefu, Mum, you might want to do that, that camera's either going to gather dust and never be sold because they're going to try and sell it for $900 that'll never be sold, is that right? Because people are going to wait for this brand new 4K one, or the other one's a 2K one. You might be able to get a very good deal buying that camera, which still can shoot good stuff. It's a great camera. I shouldn't be saying this, maybe I can go and get this camera. Anyway, that would get you Resolve, the newest version of Resolve, and a camera. That's something to think about. You have to maybe ask how much this would sell it for. What would you think a good going price for a brand new version of the old camera would be? 600? 500? 500 bucks? Anyway, if anyone's got, let's say 500, if anyone's got that money around, that might be a really good deal because you're getting Resolve and a camera for $200. What? Okay. I'm going off topic. All right, so let's move on. So straight into editorial from there. I think this, by the way, I think is a very well laid out and use of the space. Because one of the things, you look at the right-hand side there, you've got those 16 channels. That might not be important straight away, but a lot nowadays, if you're filming, you might have at least 4 channels on your camera, 2 channels, and you want to be able to know where that data is. Now, one of the things that slows me down is that when I'm going into Final Cut or Premiere, I'm looking, and I have to look at the waveform to see if there's anything there. All right? And you go and look at it, and you wait there, and if you've got something that's a long time, you can wait a long time for that stupid waveform to draw. And I'm like, has it got anything on that channel, or can I ignore it? So I can just go into this and go, yep, this thing's on 2 channels, and I know it without doing anything. So having these, some cameras have 16 channels of sound, but having that straight away that I know, yeah, I used the first 2 channels, and I can kind of see that the left channel was the lav, and the right channel was the onboard mic, because it's lower. So just that small thing, and me to be able to scrub and go, yep, look at your VO, look at those tables in there, I know I don't need to bother looking for waveforms. You know? So, anyway, moving on to editorial. So they put a lot of thought into this, is what I'm saying. Now, also as well, you can see that certain things, see the way it's shaded there? That is kind of to show you there's more underneath there, which is nice. But my point in saying this is that this is designed to be on a bigger screen. But what you can obviously do is, if you've only got your media in one place and you're organizing it, you can switch off certain things. You can say, well, I want this big, or I want this, you know, you can switch off certain parts so it's not in the way. You can switch off your metadata and just look at the audio. You can switch off your audio and the metadata if you want, which again is very, very similar to Final Cut. All right, moving on. So now we're in the main editorial part, and you'll see that the media bins have set up here. You can change the size of that, of course. Just make them nice and small like that. And one of the things I think they've done is that that's a decent sized, the smallest thing you can do is a very decent sized icon for this size of screen. And depending on the screen that you do it with, it changes. And that is like exactly the size I would like it. So I think they've done a very, very good job there. So editorial, again, if you go into here, user, and you go into playback settings, keyboard mapping. Right now here, so you can have it as Avid, Premiere Pro, Final Cut X, or resolves on things. And it basically maps a good 60-70%, might be a bit high, but a good percentage of the key maps. And then you can map all the other ones. There's a couple of ones for Final Cut people and for Premiere people that aren't mapped, that you think would be mapped, but you start from a decent playing point. So you know, oh, I want to see my whole thing, well let's shift that, oh it works. So most of the commands work. All the standard ones like JKL and your trim in and out that are kind of international, they're all kind of covered as well. But you'll see that the same kind of things, you get a bunch of tools in the middle, you get your 2 viewers, you got your track kind of selection and designation stuff, and your clips at the right, and then when you want your inspector, and you want your inspector full height, it's there like that. And whatever you click on, it's there. Very simple, very clean, and you've got all the standard stuff, but again, if you're wanting to, this would be lit up if it had any Fusion stuff on it, it would let you know that it's been altered. But one of the things that really bugs me about Final Cut, and I've talked about it since day one, is that if you open up Video Animation Editor, and you've got a bunch of plugins, when it opens up, they disappear here, they go underneath. So as soon as you open that up, you have to adjust the size of the menu, or scale it down, and move things. You have to move stuff around to make room for itself, which is a classic. For me, it's a massive mistake. That when you know, there's another thing that if you notice where look at the inspector being toggled here, okay? Okay? Now, when you do that in Final Cut, it moves it, no, it doesn't move it. When you toggle it, it doesn't move it out of the way. So if you're using something here, right? The interface will go on top of it, but when you click it off, it moves it back. So the timeline starts moving, and it's very non-consistent. So what I love about this one here is, you do that, it makes space for itself in a very clear area, and you've got some very easy tools to allow you to do your keyframing. And all the stuff that's on Final Cut especially, Premiere's got it wrapped up, it's fine. You don't necessarily, you can see the keyframes, but you don't necessarily see the envelopes. This one can actually show you both. But I just love the fact that it makes space for the thing that you have just clicked on, because you'd be assuming that when you click on something and you want to see information, you shouldn't be having to move the interface out of the way of itself. So I find that that's nice and clean, and it's a good black against white. You've got all the standard stuff. You've got your link tools, you've got your snap tools. There's nothing in here that would be anything different than what you're used to. This part here is very similar to Premiere and Media Composer, and the rest it's a kind of mixture of Final Cut, Premiere. They're all kind of the same. So again, you've got the same kind of list here. You have at the side, when you put things in there, you've got your effects library as well. You've also got your edit index, which is very, very handy. So when you're going through stuff, you can see what you're actually working on. Oops, Ah, I shouldn't have pressed that. He's gonna he's gonna tell me I told you, but you can actually see what's going on. Look at that. Isn't that wonderful? So you want to identify something or markers or anything like that? It's very, very simple to. Okay, so now imagine if we are looking at this particular clip here. Okay? If I was wanting in a traditional way, if I was going to have it in Premiere and it was dynamically linked and I was going to go in and edit it, it's having to open up a whole other program, right? One of the things, DaVinci is a little bit slower at opening. It's not as slow as Motion to open. Holy moly. Go and make a coffee in between that thing opening up. But it loads of more of a base set of instructions so that when you click on Fusion for the first time, it doesn't take 5 minutes to load. It takes a couple of seconds to load. And after that, it's snappy and fast. But the cool thing is that I'm going to add an effect to that. I want to get on with my workday. I want to get on with things. I don't be opening up other programs, making other files. I'm not going to go into, say I was in Final Cut here, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to send it to Motion, right? Which you can't do anyway. Let's just pretend you can, right? You can't even send it to its own program. Let's just pretend you can. Bam. You're in Motion now. You have to then save it as a file or publish it back to Final Cut. So you have to go, okay, what am I going to, okay, I'm going to make a naming convention to work, right? And it's the same setup for if you're going to take the audio and then go into its other program who's made by Apple called Logic. You try and export, and even this would turn up being a mess in Logic. And I've screamed at them for a decade now, it seems futile, and it's just not going to get fixed anytime soon. So if you go into, I would say, you can go from here using a $200 plugin, you can go from Final Cut or Premiere and take it into Pro Tools. Absolutely fantastic, works, but you need to spend another $200. And again, you're taking it outside and having to name it another file and then have that in a project folder, and you've got all these files everywhere. This allows you to go, right, I want to fix something. I'm now going to go here, boom, it's going to take a second to load, and then bam, you're now in your effects program. And if you make any changes, say I'm going to add something, you can bring up this menu, and let's just say I'm going to do, a glow. Oops. So I type in glow, and as you're typing, you see it narrows it down. Oh, that one. I'm just going to use this one. Bam. And you add that in, and it adds it onto the timeline. So you see what I've just done there? This thing here, it adds it nicely, but this is coming from the timeline. This is going back to the timeline. Make sense? Right? And so when you add something here and you click on it, you see all the tools here. Right? You can, and then on top of that, if you say, well, I want to see what it looked like before, you click on that, that shows you the before, the left-hand one, and then this little right-hand one. The old style of doing it is you'd actually drag it and put it up the screen, and it puts it on it, you just drag it up there like that. But anyway, that now shows you the glow, and it can say, well, you know what, that glow is just way too much, it's crazy. It looks like dreamland. Let's just say she's dreaming a little bit. Looks like she's dreaming. Okay, and then from that, we go back into our timeline, and then we can see the red line, and we know, hey, look at the glows there now. So this is just an incredibly simple example. You can get in very complex composites. And then even from there, you can, if you were going to be doing something else, and you were going to be bringing in your media pool, let's just say you're going to do this, okay? Now you can do this in the timeline, of course, if you wanted to. But let's just say I was going to bring in this guy here, okay? And then I was going to do a merge, and I was going to do a scale, okay? And then I'm going to connect this scale to here, and then I'm going to do a merge. I'm going to add that, and then it's going to take that merge here. You're going to add that to there. You're going to add that to there. It's like plumbing. Oh, I need to add a background, don't I? And you know why it's not going to work? Because I need to do this. Oh, I've had this happen before. How do you scale the timeline to be on that area there? It's not in the right place. Okay, I need to do my thinking a bit better than I'm doing right now because I realise I'm doing something wrong here. Why isn't that working? Okay, something's gone wrong because that's saying meridian. Okay, this should work. I think something's happened. This is beta software, but it shouldn't be in any way not doing this. I should be able to click on that and show it to me, so something's obviously gone weirdly wrong. Huh. Okay, I'm going to abandon this. Oh, and my battery level's going down. Do we have a power charger? Can I borrow it? Oh, yours is the wrong kind, sorry. It's the wrong kind. Alright, anyway, we'll get to that. Can you get the basic idea? Is that you can go and make a change to something and then it's reflected right there. Is that the right kind? I think it's the wrong kind. And you can also I'm just going to disable this by going there and then go back to what it was doing before. But the whole point is you don't need to make a linear decision for something and then have to go back to, I'm going to have to go out of this program and come back. And then when the client comes back with the change and says, oh, we have to do that again, you don't have to say, okay, I have to export this back out, and then have to go back in that program, and then save it back out, and then bring it back in and do all those things. This allows you in an easy way to say, yeah, I'll change that. And if you can offer something better to the client straight away in a quick turnaround time, of course they're going to, that's a better advantage for the client. So then coming to the same thing over here, we're going to take a different clip, which I'm going to go grab from here. Okay, and let's just say we're going to come here. And again, same thing. If I now go into Resolve, you've got the same types of nodes. It's the same kind of visual information. Here it comes in, and there it goes out. So if you're adding more nodes and adding other things, and there's an absolute bunch of different types of nodes in here, you will find that this gets, you've got your standard kind of stuff here. Come on. So this is the main thing. Now this, again, this goes down to I'm adjusting the gain like that with a mouse, and you're just going left and right, and that's fine because you're doing one thing at a time. It is totally different to just do this, and you're doing things that it's not going to do. That's on this computer here. It's totally different, and it's a totally different experience and feel because you can feel your way around into something that's instead of just doing one thing at a time. But this is where you be able to you do all your kind of you can do your curves here. Let me get rid of this. You can have your scopes here. It's very, very fluid, and I find overall that this is just a way easier way of working. But again, there's certain things in here, because I've seen people saying, well, if you've got all these color correction tools and everything inside Fusion, why would you want to come with the Resolve? The Resolve color science isn't different than doing the math inside there, but there's a lot of other features and things like when you're pulling keys and things like that are better handled and better specifically designed for doing color correction, and not just an overall general visual effects kind of thing. So that's why they are separated, and also it's a main product line for them too. So, and then the next part, oh, guess what? Okay, Ed, can you run and get the charger? It's in that bag in the studio. Slight detail here. It went down fast. Does anyone have any questions right now? That's a USB-C. Anyone have any questions so far? You have 0 questions. There's 0 questions. You know everything. It's totally, you've got it all wrapped up now, yeah? Anyway, I was just going to go into the Fairlight part. One of the things I do want to show you, and it's something that I actually wish was in all of Resolve. I believe it's going to be an option because they've added in the same menu. One of the things that is fantastic about Fairlight, I've never liked seeing the timeline go across and then it refreshing. And I've never liked that. I like it that the timeline is locked in one place and everything moves underneath. And it's one of the things that was incredibly fast about the Fairlight, that when you were dialing the wheels, it was like moving tape underneath. It was like, woo, woo, woo. And you literally felt like any movement and it would move it. It wasn't pixelated or anything, it was incredibly smooth. And it felt kind of heavy because you've got all this sound going underneath. And so that's something I was about to show you before I powered out. And it's something that I feel that they've now added in. They've added in back a feature that was on the Fairlight. One of the things that's going to be a benefit is that each part of the software has its own strengths. And I think there's going to be a migration of some of those strengths into the other modules because now you're seeing them in a physical, cohesive setup. And I think that's something I'm already seeing it because Fusion didn't exactly look like this before. It's been modified. Fairlight really looked like this, but they have actually significantly changed it, but it does look different, but it feels the same. And it actually, Fusion was very, very high up, but it had kind of different buttons and everything, and it's actually got some benefits from DaVinci straight away. You can clearly see, oh, they copied that wasn't there before. So there's overall a strengthening of the pipeline because they're together now, and because you can go that to that. You can say, oh, wait a minute, this has got that, but that hasn't. Let's put it right here. Excusez-moi. Do this, and let me do this. It's blinked. There we go, fantastic. Thank you for your patience. So each of these has full dynamics, it's got a full EQ, and even straight away, in this tiny representation, you've got a sound surround panner, right? But you're getting basically, and this goes back to what I said before, this cross-pollination, which is very healthy, and having them all under one roof and seeing that leads to what seems, it is rapid development, because you're straight away you're working between them, and you go, oh wait, that doesn't have that. That should be over here. So instead of always going to Fairlight, they've brought a bit of the Fairlight here, right? It's straight away, it's a great benefit. So with any of these, you get the basic, and you can do automation from here as well, but it's far better handled when you go into Fairlight. But you've got your basic EQs, you've got your basic panners, all of that stuff can be handled. And also, I believe, you can do just that. So there you go. That's just the main meters. If you don't want the mixer there, you don't even want the hint of it there, you can just put the meter on instead. But if you want the mixer, it's there for doing quick things in video, just so you don't have to go over here, which is just another speed thing. And if you're saying, well, the voices are on the first two channels, then I'll just do that. So you can just minimize what you need to see, okay? But let's just say we're going over to the full Fairlight right now. So one of the things that has defined Fairlight in the motion picture editing is the way that it deals with sound, the way that it deals with background noise, its filtering, its spatial imaging, everything. On the newest Fairlight, there's a console, they have one of these move controllers, and it's a little sensor that you basically move your hand around, and you do this, and it literally moves it in 360 sound and makes it spatially wider or tight. And you get a visual representation on the screen of what looks like a movie theater, and you move your hand around in front of the console, it's crazy good. And you hear the sound going around, and you see where it's going to be represented. And it's amazing. They might bring that. There's a bunch of technologies that you're not seeing here. But straight away, in the same way that when you go to the color panel, boom, the color thing lights up. If you have a Fairlight connection, a Fairlight audio board connected, and they're all connected through Ethernet. There's no tons and tons of cables coming in the back. There's one cable at the back of this. You have your, as soon as you go to the Fairlight one, boom, the Fairlight one pops up. I believe actually the Fairlight one should stay on versus the color one going away. The Fairlight one should stay on, so you'll be able to still always do sound. And I believe that's the case. So if we look at that there, you see that you've got your 4 audios there. You've got your loudness meter, your control room noise and everything like that. Fantastic. You've got a bunch of different buses where you can send things. Well, you can make your own buses. So say you've got you want to send a bunch of audio to reverb. You can make a bus that's just for reverb, and you can send it just like a traditional mixing desk. Now, that was in the original, say, Final Cut 7, but handled in a totally different alien way that I think space aliens came down and said, we're going to make your audio thing in Final Cut. And then they buggered off to the original panel, leaving us poor, helpless earthlings here to deal with the mess that we left behind. Anyway, the way that the audio works here, it gives you a visual representation. You've got the small version in the corner there, but it can deal with literally hundreds of channels. Well, that was again one of Final Cut 7's strengths, is it could deal with hundreds of channels. There's a board if you're using the PC version of this, and it's on there's a PCI card that you can buy right now from DaVinci, and it's called the Crystal Core card, and it can easily deal with 1,000 channels at 192 kilohertz each. 1,000, no problem at all. It doesn't even break a sweat. Well, it does a little, but it doesn't let you know. Anyway, so that's the kind of quality of sound that it can deal with. And there's also like VST plugins that it's a kind of universal thing. You can put VST plugins, any kind of sound reduction, compression, anything that you like that's a favorite of yours. There's certain ones that won't go, but I would say 90% of the VST ones are all able to be plugged into this. So if you bought a VST plugin from somewhere, you can use it inside Fairlight. Right? I really wish, if it had more time, I would have got something that had a bunch of audio to allow you to kind of see what it's like and see all the meters going. And then of course, if you have more tracks here, you can minimize this area and drag this out to be even more. So you can minimize this part and just have that. And I think, Uhuru, where's the option to lose the timeline? Okay, so let's quickly talk about the ADR thing. This is quite new. Oh, now, okay, I've got something I'll talk about. The sound library. The way that the sound library works, if you've got access to sound libraries, you've got a hard drive with like sounds on it, you can catalog them here. And I don't have one here, and I wish I had, because it's a fantastic feature. What's the difference when you go to, has anyone bought any stock footage? Anyone from Shutterstock or anything? Do you know the deal? You go there, right, and you see a whole bunch of pictures. And let's say you say, I want a giraffe. Okay, I want a giraffe against the background of Africa, right? You type in giraffe, and it comes up, it narrows it down, you see about 20. And then you say, right, okay, yes, sunset. Oh, giraffe, there we go, it's narrowed down to 5. You can look at 5 things at once, okay? With audio, when you get an audio thing, they're files. You have to listen to them one at a time to know if they're any good, okay? So you are literally having to go through them sequentially. Like, so I'll give you a really good example. In any movie that you've ever watched, there's that stupid alarm sound. It's the number one because people go, yeah, that'll do, and they put it into their timeline, not realizing that every single other person in the world uses the same damn sound. You hear it in a nuclear bunker, you hear it in space, you hear it in Armageddon, you hear it in every single thing. It's the same, because nobody's bothered to go through them, because you know what, they're like, that's good enough. So in the same way, going through sound is sequential. You can't look at sound, but this can help. The way that this works is, and maybe I can show it to you later on, when we're doing it in separate talks. Here comes literally, you see the waveforms, and it's fast at doing waveforms. It's like the old Avid, when it was fast at dealing with waveforms, because it was hardware-based, it was hardware accelerated. Whereas with Final Cut, it takes approximately 19 years, to make a waveform for a 2-hour movie. You literally, there's more people, you're not you anymore. You've died and your children has taken over the edit, and it's maybe finished drawing the waveform, right? But this one is actually very, very fast. And again, also, if you have the crystal card, the acceleration of drawing these waveforms is literally instantaneous. It can just pour through them really fast. So what you get here, in this whole area, you visually get to see the entire waveform in its own right. So it doesn't matter if it's long or short, they show them the same width. And so you can quickly see, if you're listening to something, some sound effects come in and there's like explosion 2, explosion 5, and each got 5 explosions on them, let's say. You can visually see the explosions very, very quickly in a big long list. And you know, instead of getting, you might say explosion, that might sound like, or you might get one that was like that. You can literally just look at them and go, I know that one's longer, it's got a longer tail end. So this whole new thing, this library, is really fantastic. And it's something that you don't realize the benefit until you started to use it. It's not just a sound library. Anyone can look in a directory of stuff and start going through things. It's the way that they've made it, very thin strips, and each of them very easily. And you can try them out whilst playing the audio. So you can play the audio and it'll play it for that little segment. And the next thing is this ADR. Okay, ADR? You will know what ADR is. Okay, I won't be able to have time to go. I'm trying to actually wrap this up. But the whole point is that you should be able to look at your production sound and have the person be standing there and playing back that production sound and playing back that video, and then they record it and you listen to it back. Okay? This part is really, really, I'd have to set up differently, and again, I wish I had a little bit more time, but one of the benefits of this is it gives you a kind of visual confidence meter of knowing if this is it's more accurate or not accurate. And on top of that, what the old ADR, and I haven't actually seen this on this one, you used to be able to just throw in a bunch of audio recordings that you've done after the fact, and it would compare it to the ADR session that it would compare it to the ADR session that you've done, comparing it to the original production audio. And it was a hardware-based thing, and it did take its time, and it's something that I don't think they've added in yet. But the fact is that you're gaining benefits and features of something that's being added to constantly. Right now, Uhuru, when did they add Fusion for free? 2 months ago? Yes. So, yeah, so before that, DaVinci was free, but you had to buy Fusion. And Fusion is a heavyweight. It's used in a lot of feature films now. Okay? It's a very, very adept program. Now it's added in free. And then, you know, as I said before, because that's been added in, there will be little gems that are taken, and you'll find them even maybe added into Fairlight, something they hadn't thought about until they've actually put them all together. So in the same way, I know that there's other technologies that Fairlight has been, because they bought Fairlight, that they might add into that. They might add into the system here. And that's only things to look forward to. So, so basically, I'm at the very end here. But if somebody, the client just calls me and says, oh, the sky too blue and the thing. Oh, which one? I've got it right here. I was just doing the audio, but I can quickly, in a second, go back. Oh, this shot here? Where is it? Of course, it's on this one here. Oh, this one here. You want the sky a bit blurred? No problem at all. I'm on the phone with you, and I'm just going to add a saturation. Is there one called saturation? Saturation. Nope. Maybe color correct. Okay. I want the sky a bit bluer. There's a bug. Okay, let me just put that in there like that. Let me click on that. And you just want the saturation above it, and it's got fantastic. Boom. Hi, Sky. Right, yeah, I've done that. I'll send you a picture across, and then you hang up the phone. Thank you very much. And you can hang up the phone and then go on with your Fairlight stuff within one timeline. Or, if you have the paid version, you can be working on Fairlight, and you're finishing it with Fairlight, and you say, I don't have time to go and fix this thing. Hey, and you call up your other person in the next room or the editor, go in and fix that shot. And they say, I'm on it. And then they message you through the system and said, it's done. You go back and you say, I'll make it more blue, go back to your Fairlight, and then they say, okay, it's done again. You go back and say, it's fine. Render out copy, send it to them. Or from the output tab that I'm just about to conveniently go into, you can say from here, you can put it to YouTube straight away from there. So that person that was working with you, they can go to the output, render it out straight to YouTube. It doesn't render to the hard drive and then put it up. It renders it direct to YouTube. And so when it's done, it's done. It's uploaded. And then you can tell the client, give them a link, and say, how about that? They say, that's fantastic, I'll send you a whole bunch of pizza over. Because clients are always appreciative, aren't they? Always appreciative. You know the best thing is when clients go, that's a great, I'm going to pay you more money next time. That always happens, doesn't it? And then you wake up. And discover the hard reality of earning a keep in Nairobi. Okay, but anyway, again, one of the things that's this is a very simple setup, as you can see, with this thing. And I have to admit that seeing these timelines, this usually is something that you have to see the way I'm doing this with the two fingers like that. That ends up being, and I wonder if it'll allow you to make it smaller. Nope. They must do that. Nope. Okay, so they made those that size. I would be giving it one request. I'd like them a little bit smaller, so that you can see more of them. Because if you have something that's 5 minutes long, this looks like a lot. But the great thing is, if you have something that's 5 minutes long, but it's mainly an interview and then a little bit of B-roll, you'll see them. There's the interview here, and then there's the B-roll. And you'll realize that sometimes a very long project can still only take up that many clips. But with something that's more episodic or lots of cutting, you'll find that this goes on quite a long. But the good thing is that wherever you click on it, he says, if I click on this, oh my goodness, there's a bug there. See that? Okay. Right, see where I'm going over there? See when I'm moving along? You see that this is matching to that? It's not exactly, it's got multiple layers, but it shows you where the red line is matching that. If I click on that one there, this one here, I should say, it's not doing it. See the way I'm going along, and then the red box is following? It says it slowly. Okay, there we go, it's following. So you can see where you are in the context of an edit. One thing I think I would love to see here is, you know when you were back here on the timeline view, where's timeline? Nope. Timeline, time code window, nope. Okay, well it's not in this view. Okay, no problem. But the basic thing is here, you do get a list of all the stuff here. There is a way of getting the timeline there. Bear with me. See this thing? See here, to that timeline there. Isn't that cool? It's a visual representation. I'm going to crash this thing, I can tell. It's a visual representation. Stop it, Fairlight. It's a visual representation. See what I'm doing, going back and forward. I should be able to do this. There you go. Now, that view there, I would like that in the end view. That would make things a little bit easier for me. You can see where you are, you see you've got everything selected, you know what's being done. But that's just a minor thing. I like the fact that here you can see what's had color correction on it. You can see which ones have a fusion touching on it. You know, it's very, very handy. And as I said before, this part here, you can go IMF, you can go audio only, you can send straight to Pro Tools. They've got a lot of different options here, which is great. And then also, when you're outputting this, these get set into a render. You can have your render here, but you also have your render queue. Come on. There you go. So you start your render, you see all your jobs there. In the very near future, you will be able to have a pool of computers that will take the render job with you. So say you've got, you can, you know, in the olden days, when I was working at Digital Domain, you had the top-notch machines nearby you. But they wouldn't throw away the old machines, they would put them on the farm. You'd take the older machines that were slightly slower, take off their screens and everything and put them just connected on the network, and those things would do the compositing job that they were totally fine doing. So what I've even got in our little studio next door here is that all of our machines are working. So when I'm rendering, say if I send something to a compressor, it gets divided up against the machines there. And in the same way here, that's going to be coming very shortly. Do you know what timeline is on that for the network queuing?
The network what?
The network queuing for the batch render. I believe it might be when this thing gets out of beta. But we'll see. Anyway, I know it's in the plan. Right now, I don't know if anyone has many excess computers hanging around, right? So it's probably not a problem. But the point is that they've thought of that in a future thing. You know, if you have one computer and you have another computer that's sitting there, that halves your time rendering. So it's not like it takes a little bit off, it could really help. So that's definitely something's coming. I think if there's something telling me if I go in here. Oh no, okay, I'll get to it later. So basically, again, at any process, and any point during this process, you can jump from one thing to another. You're not loading up other projects. You're not remembering that I didn't save the right version. Anything you want to do, you save. And I've just saved. And everything that I've done from all of these projects, Apple S, Bunk, everything from your ingest, the settings that you had in your ingest, the things that you had in your timeline, all the effects that you added on Fusion, everything that you did for every single clip that's in that you have in your timeline, you put stuff in Fusion, and everything that you did in your color corrector, and every single thing that you set up on Fairlight, and all the buses and everything you got sorted out, is in one file. Now, if that isn't a benefit, just straight off the bat, I don't know what, because I've got to get on with work. I don't want to be wasting my time remembering where the crap I put everything. Make sense? Okay, and with that, okay, I just want to show you this little bit of part down here. Can we go to this new tech, the video gallery? Oh, there you are. Can you go into this camera, please? Dun, dun, dun. Ooh, and my audio's gone. Yeah, the battery's gone. I can. Aha, audio, I have you now. Okay, this might not be the best way. I think what I'll do is I'll call this a day right now, and I'm going to be here with this, and if people want to see this, because we still can't see it. It should have been over here, I didn't think. But I know that we're trying to wrap this up. So I'm going to finish this up right now. Yeah? Okay. Okay, give me a second. This is how professionals do it. All righty. Okay. Now. Talking to the person. Okay, right. I have no idea this is going to work right now. Okay, can we do a picture-in-picture, my dear people? Oh man, Resolve is freaking out here. Oh, there we go. Back. No, it's not. We have a problem. I might have to come out and resolve this thing scratch. Yeah, damn it. All right. I knew that was a bad idea. Oh, come on. I didn't know I was going to be demonstrating this on the screen here. It's far easier just to show you in front. I know my screen resolution's changed. Alrighty. No. Can you do the HDMI input as a picture-in-picture, not my shiny head? Why would you want to see me in the corner? You can see me right here. Put it on this. Is it not coming through? Hang on. Ah, there we go. This is a problem. Boom. Does it come in now? There we go. I can feel it. It's happening. What? Okay. Can we not get it? Exactly wrong. The exact opposite of that. Oh, we're getting it. I believe in you guys. Let me get some water. Okay. Let me just get this here. Wow, super low resolution. Let's go into. There we go. All right. Okay, so I'm only going to really do the primaries here. It's not. You can see again. You can see which one you're going to be clicking on. I want to jump around and go on this one here, or let's just go on this one here. Right, and let's go this one here. Now, if I am, can you swap it the other way around? And zoom in a little. Enhance. Zoom. Does nobody get that? Enhance zoom. Quadrant 4. Enhance. No? Nobody watched TV for the past 40 years? Yes. Enhance. Can you enhance that a little? Can you zoom in? Okay, that's good. Slow down the zoom, it's a bit fast. And then, yeah, you'll find out. Okay, so you get the basic idea. We're going to be working here. We're on a custom curve. Guys, I think we need to take 5 minutes off because I'm going to have to reboot things here. I'm not having much luck here. Let me just come out of this. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to try again. Okay. Alrighty. Going to there. All right. Okay. Can we get the? Let me just see what's working. Man. Well, super. All right. Okay, it's working now. Okay, so very quickly, if I was going to do, can we see the screen at the same time? You need me to do the whole unpluggy thing? Can we do both? Okay, swap that around. It's going to happen. I'm going to keep this super simple because this is not operating the best way. It's not going to be the best demo. But the whole point is, can we swap that around, no? Make the panel on the big one and the other one's on the small one. Or if you can make it that I can see this color, the main part here is down here, the bottom left, the color wheels on the DaVinci screen. Okay, so all I need is to see the color wheels that are, see the color wheels there? Can you make that like wider? If you make the thingy wider so it's not so small, because I need to see the color wheels and then these two guys. That's the only thing I really need to see for this demonstration. Wow. Okay. That's okay. No? No. All right. So basically the whole point is, if I'm doing this with one finger and talking to you, right, I can move this around and I can kind of I can see what I'm doing. I'm having to hold it and you get an idea, but a lot of times some people you might want to be throwing some blues into the shadows and putting a little bit warmth in the highlights. Let's say we're going to do that. You have to kind of do a bit of this, and then you have to kind of do a little bit of this over here, and you're messing around with one at a time, okay? Now, if I just put this all back to normal, the great thing is, and this won't it's really not going to show the best. That's why it's better to talk about it afterwards, but you'll get the idea. Is that if I'm doing this instead, if I want them to go more into the blue there, and more warmth into there, you can see that I'm moving them around. If I want to bring down the whole thing like that, it's way easier for me just to do this. And if I don't like that, I can reset some of these. And see what I'm saying? Having both hands at once, it's much easier to play around with this. Whoops. I've done something wrong there.
So hold the microphone for you.
What a gentleman. I thought you'd have more presidential things to do right now than hold a microphone for this Mzungu guy. But you get the general idea. Okay, straight away, so we're on our primary. You can see that button there, right? But if you want to go to curves straight away, and then on the screen, okay, I'm going to say screen, and then just go to full screen for a minute. Can we do that? And then I'll say panels. All right, so let's go to screen, full screen on DaVinci. Wow, there we go. So straight away there is that if I press primary, it takes you to the primary windows. Qualifier is to say I only want to affect these colors. Okay, let's go back to the control panel. Right, and it immediately this gets me straight to if I want to do curves, bam, and now you can see my curves. You go to the DaVinci screen. There, and there I've got my curves right here. Now, right now, with this particular setup, I do have to use the mouse. There is a bigger version of I'll take this. There's a bigger version of this that allows you to basically see me moving this up and down. You can actually use a knob to go up and down and then adjust the value. So you're just using the knob to go through the curve and then you're adjusting the values here. So you use both hands. But it's difficult. So right now you can kind of do that. And as you're doing that, it'll still affect it. The values are still working. Values aren't working, hang on a sec. Boom, primary. The values, it's doing it again. Nobody's. I know it's working now. Okay, they work there, but these don't work. That's supposed to work. I think it's a small bug. No, I know it's working there because I'm looking at the screen. If you go to the screen, I can see. But if I go back to if I go from primary to curves, your original, that isn't doing anything right now. That's a bug. Okay, it's beta. Don't worry. I think this will get fixed. This seems like a fairly obvious one. So the whole point is that you can go very quickly between, if you go in the panels now, you can go very quickly between these things. And it offers a level of fluidity that generally you'll press curves or you'll press qualifier and then you'll work within these things here, okay, whichever things you want. And then you'll go straight back to primary or curves. You use one hand to select, you use these controls to do the thing, and then you go straight back to curves. So again, they've worked it out that if you're doing other things, they've probably put the selection for the types of project, the types of control that you need on the left, and these ones here are for when you're doing something with your left hand, these would work. I know that they're kind of generic in the way they could have had them the other way around, but they've done a very smart job in the way that they've laid these out, is that it's always about being able to use both hands at once. It's always like that, and that will always beat the speed of doing it with the mouse when you're doing one thing only. If you're selecting something and adjusting and then going back, it's almost the same as when you're on the timeline in DaVinci of going, I'm doing editing, I'm just going quickly to do something and then I come back. It's that kind of efficiency that I think has carried it all the way through. So, and again, some things are locked out. So it seems like when I'm on my primaries, these work and that's great, okay? All is well. Okay? You can see the levels changing, so you can either do your adjustments here, or you can actually do them exactly. If you're moving, can we go to the screen for a little second? If you're moving, see the lift at the left-hand bottom corner there, and I'm going more towards red, okay? That's completely fine, but if I said, well, I actually just want to dial a little bit more blue in, I could go down to the bottom right and move a little bit more blue, or go back to the control panel. I could just dial in a bit more blue here. Right, now, if you go back to the screen, you see the way the blue is being moved around there? So it gives you, what is great is, go back to the control panel, you get rough, gross kind of controls here, which get you into the ballpark, And then if you just want to add a little bit more blue, instead of then clicking on here and going, oh, I just want to type, and you start typing, you can just turn a knob. If you don't like it, you press it. You press on it and it resets it. So you might adjust something and say, oh my God, I totally whacked that out. Boom, boom. Any of these buttons here reset. So you sometimes go into a shot and you screw it up, you'll see guys kind of going, okay, I'm just going to reset this stuff here. We're all pressed and reset. And the good thing is, as soon as you press them, they've got this great kind of clack to them as well. It's very, very, feels good. But the whole point is that the using both hands, having something that feels good to work with, that you could imagine that you would be working on this. Imagine you're younger doing this, and you're working on the control, you're working just in the pen, working just with the software, with a mouse. You can take that directly and reapply that same knowledge to become very familiar with this in a very short period of time. So also, I think, do they support the JL Cooper? Oh, it supports JL Cooper now, yeah? For the color.
The color?
Yeah.
Yes,
And the euphonics one. Yeah, so the Avid Artist panels are great, but I think they're literally stopping production of the color one, probably because of this. This range of panels is good. It's on a completely different playing field. The Avid ones were good, and for the same price of that $700 one, you're getting something that is massively robust, and it's way better. If you look at the Artist color compared to this, the Artist color went between $900 and $1,300 depending on the time of year, right? And it's very small, it's very thin, it's kind of a bit warpy, plasticky, it's plastic finish, and the thing that really gets me is these Da Vinci, the way that these are, they're plastic, but it's a good feeling plastic. The Resolve ones, and the Wave, and the JL Cooper have that rubberized finish that is all nowadays falling apart with the sweat of your fingers. That's literally falling apart. You get that gooey, rubbery thing. Have you ever picked up like some phone you've not used for a long time? It's got that rubbery finish. It's like comes off like oil on your fingers. These will not suffer from that because this is like solid plastic and it's not got any kind of rubberized finish. And they've been very, very smart about how these things are going to work in the long run. So anyway, there's a lot more that we could go into, and I can do it separately with you guys. And some of these things just take time to go through. So this was just to kind of give you an overall kind of look at this, take you through the interface, and to really show you the way that you can jump from one thing to another. I don't know, I think it's very cool. So thank you very much for your time. Cheers. This one doesn't move much.